Voting isn't just going to the polls anymore on Election Day. Options like early voting, mail-in voting, and ballot drop boxes are available to more voters and are growing in popularity. How to Vote is a tool created by Democracy Works, and it breaks down the options your state offers by forecasting a ballot, empowering you to decide where and when to vote. Democracy works best when we all vote, but misinformation and confusion about election procedures have resulted in low voter turnout. How to Vote takes the guesswork out of the voting process. It is easy to use and helps folks from all over the country overcome many of the process barriers to voting. It is committed to helping you vote no matter what. You can use the How to Vote tool to sign up for election reminders, see what's on your ballot, get step-by-step assistance requesting your mail ballot, explore your options for returning your mail-in ballot, check your voter registration status, and find your local polling site and make sure that you have an appropriate ID to bring with you. Decide when and where you'll vote this year at howto.vote.
Hello and welcome to the formal review. Today, we will be looking at the 2018 film, A Star is Born. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the review.
Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 22. Thanks for tuning in once again to the formal review. I know I've been apologizing a lot lately for the lateness of some of my reviews, but it's just life gets caught up with you and sometimes you don't get time to turn it up. But I'm always going to put out something that I say I'm going to put out. Before I get into this movie, as I always want to say, as with all formal reviews, there may be some spoilers, but not a lot. I always try to keep the review fairly vague, just so I don't ruin the movie for you. But as I always say, definitely go see the movie before hear what I have to say about it. But if you really don't care about that type of stuff, keep listening. Star is Born is a musical romantic drama film produced and directed by Bradley Cooper. It's his first directional film, and it was written by Eric Roth, Cooper himself, and Will Fetters. It stars Bradley Cooper, Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanotta, also known as Lady Gaga, Andrew Dice Clay, Dave Chappelle, and Sam Elliott. This is the fourth remake of this story. The original film came out in 1937. The first remake came out in 1954, and then it was remade again in 1976, and then it was remade once again into a Bollywood film in 2013. Now, all these films basically follow the same storyline. It's about a man who's seen it all in show business but has been pushed to the limits when it comes to his alcohol addiction, and then he sees this new starlet who just needs the right person to push her into becoming a big star, and they fall in love and they move forward. This storyline has been fairly similar, pretty much the original and the remakes. Now, I haven't seen them, but I do know from what I read, this story is very similar throughout each rendition of the film. Now, I think Bradley Cooper, given that this is his first directional film, shows that he has a lot of passion for this, and I honestly think he has come a long way when it comes to his development in Hollywood. I mean, you go back and you can watch him on a Behind the Actors studio asking, I think it was Sean Penn, years ago, to coming up from very small roles to being in Wedding Crashers and then starring in The Hangover. Then as he started off in comedy and kind of has moved his way into dramatic roles, and now moving himself into a directional role is a big step for him, and he honestly does a very good job. But even with this kind of used story, he is able to establish it in 2018 mainly because he's using a pop artist of the time. But honestly, if you look back at that's something that every rendition did. 1954 starred Judy Garland and James Marsden, and the 1976 version starred Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson. So a lot of these casts have been pretty strong ones, and I do think that this is actually a similar situation where you do have a very good cast. If you know Lady Gaga, a lot of people know who she is for her pop album, her extreme outfits and all that. But if you actually look at who she was before all that, well, she started off in a piano jazz bar and has grew up into being this pop artist. But then if you look back at her somewhat more recent albums, she did one with Tony Bennett that is a pretty amazing record. And her last album actually didn't have as much pop, and it honestly had a lot more soul to it, which I feel was a lot more personal for her in comparison to a lot of the other stuff, which felt a little bit more poppy. Not to say it's bad, and I think that her story actually is fairly somewhat somewhat parallel to her character story in A Star is Born. It's not exactly the same. It's not a biopic of her life, but I saw a lot of similarities with that. And I thought that added a lot more authenticity to the story. This story is about rising and falling stars, this relationship between the two. And because you take them out of the music world, and that's what the story is. It is a romance. We're trying to get invested in these two characters and see how they go through their ups and downs. It looks at how love between these two people can make them the best versions of themselves and honestly the worst versions of themselves. Where this movie I think really shines is obviously in the music. I think it's done really well. Obviously, again, like I said, Lady Gaga can sing. So she adds, again, a lot of authenticity to that. And even when Bradley Cooper sings, he's not bad either. And the reason why it's decent is that they do get that kind of country music feel to the songs that really adds a little bit of authenticity. Whether or not you're a fan of country music is another issue, because now this film doesn't really focus too much on the music business as a whole. It's actually looking at these two characters, and that's what makes this film fairly authentic, because it concentrates on the two. Cooper and Gaga do a fantastic job playing them, and not only them, Sam Elliott I think plays Jack's older brother. And I think Sam Elliott does a fantastic job in just a few scenes that he has on screen. And that's because he's able to show the pain that he has as Jack's brother, seeing him fall so far and seeing him fall into this abyss of alcoholism and see him struggle. But then he sees how happy he gets with Allie, and you see the pain in his emotion, and he's honestly on screen. I don't know the exact number, but he's not on screen for very long. Allie and Jackson's connection is what pushes this film forward. Problem I think with this film is that, for me, I'm not a big country music kind of guy, and I think that takes away from it in a way that I didn't get invested as much into the film as I think I should have. Now, one of the things I also think is that this film, I think it rushes a little bit when it comes to time. You kind of just jump from time, place to time, place, and doesn't really orchestrate how long things have been. And I was taken aback by how fast the film was moving, even though I still felt invested with these characters. When it comes to Jackson's development, I feel that it had issues because there was no really backstory to his character. They kind of mentioned that he was his drinking buddy with his dad, but that was maybe one line and that's really it. To appreciate everything that the heart and everything that was put into this. Lady Gaga's fantastic. Bradley Cooper is great. So is Sam Elliott. There's a lot of great performances. The singing is fantastic. The music's beyond amazing. But honestly, would I watch it again? Probably not. I would probably honestly only listen to this music and listen to Lady Gaga sing. I think that was my biggest takeaway from it, is that Lady Gaga is a fantastic singer. But I don't need to watch the entire movie to get that. And honestly, I just feel that I couldn't watch this film again. Not because it's bad, it's just because I have no interest in rewatching. And that's something for me personally, that's something that's really a big deal. I need to be able to rewatch this. But you're not going to be disappointed when you go through this. And I would rate this movie a 4 out of 5 bow ties. Now let me know what you have thought of the film. Did you really like it? What do you think of Lady Gaga singing? Are you a bigger fan of her pop stuff or this more kind of soulful type of music that she puts out, the more authentic type of music? Let me know. I'm on social media. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's the URLs all the same. It's at The Formal Review. You can also check out Box Office Buzz. I do some retrospective reviews on there, and I also do written reviews. You can check them out. Again, I do want to thank you guys for tuning in. I do this really for you guys because I see the number of people who are listening, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I love to talk about movies, and you guys are listening, so I want to do things better for you guys. So let me know what you want to be done better. Is there a special type of episode you want me to do? I have a few ideas of my own that are going to come out eventually, but I do want to hear your thoughts, so hit me up. So you never an episode, please subscribe. We're on Google Podcasts, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Stitcher, Spotify, pretty much everywhere you can find your favorite podcasts, we're on there. So please leave a review, let me know how I'm doing, give your ideas, I want to make this better. And as always, when it comes to the music in the background, I do not own music to this. I only do this to bring awareness to the music, honestly, because of how good it is. I think the music is a big part of the film. Now, the music in the back is the instrumental versions of A Star is Born, released on October 5th, 2018 by Interscope Records. You can always check them out and listen to the full tracks because it is really good. Until next time, see you at the movies. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Formal Review. We hope you'll join us again.